If you are thinking about buying a house to convert the garage into an ADU, in today's video, I'm going to show you why selecting the right property could save you lots of money. I'm hosting an open house and I'm shooting this video in between when people are coming and going. So if I turn off the camera randomly, it's because a guest is coming over to see the house. Nonetheless, we are in a very competitive market to buy a property. And if you're thinking about buying a house to convert the garage into an ADU, I'm gonna give out a few pointers that you should be looking at when selecting the property that you wanna buy. Now, the very first thing is the location of the garage. The ideal property to buy in order to convert the garage into an ADU is a property that has the garage in front of the property. That's the perfect location because if it's in the front of the property, your overall cost will be lower. And we're talking about labor cost and materials. And I'm gonna give you a tour and tell you why. So let's begin with the sewer system. This is the property that I'm hosting, an open house. And as you can see, the garage is in front of the property. And when you're buying a property overall, and especially if you're buying a property to convert the garage into an ADU, you're gonna look at the sewer line. And the sewer line happens to be right here. For the purpose of buying, you're going to do a sewer camera inspection to find out the condition of the sewer line. And probably the sewer line goes straight, or it might go to the side. On my property, and went over to the side, which was even better because the bathroom is in that corner, and all they had to do was excavate, dig a trench right over here, brought the sewer line this way, and in my property, the sewer line that goes to the city happens to be somewhere here, which means that the sewer line from the house comes this way and it joins somewhere in this section. All the contractor had to do was excavate from the ADU all the way to the middle, which is maybe 10 feet. So that's cost number one. You're already gonna be saving lots of money by having the garage in front of the property because the excavation cost is going to be lower. Any plumber is going to give you a reasonable bid because he's not going to have to spend 2 or 3 days, maybe a week, excavating all the way from the back of the property to the front of the property and then having to join the ADU sewer line with the line of the house and then taking it up to the city. So you're going to save a lot of money if the garage is in front of the property. Day 2 of the open house. Now, what you want to do is when you're doing the sewer line inspection for the property that you're buying, you want to be very clear with the company that's doing the inspection, and you want to let them know that first you want them to do a sewer line inspection, take the camera inside the sewer line, but the second thing you want to negotiate within that deal is you want them to tell you where the sewer line for the house meets the sewer line for the city. Why is this very important? Because you can use that information later on when you're getting bids for the plumbing. The plumbers will say, I don't know where the sewer line is, so I'm gonna charge you $200 to find out where the sewer line is, and then we can give you an estimate. If you already know where your sewer line is, you can just tell the plumber, Mr. Plumber, my sewer line is right over here. We had it inspected, and I want you to give me an estimate from this point to that point. How much is it gonna be? What is your bid for my project? And this way you can negotiate with multiple plumbers at the same time until you find the best deal. So just have that in mind. Use that little quick pro tip when you're buying a house and you're doing the sewer line inspection. Hopefully you find my videos to be helpful. And another person that's extremely helpful in the ADU process is Natalie. If you need somebody to help you draw your plans, submit them to the city, and get them approved, get in contact with Natalie. She can help you through the whole process, navigate you through the city system, and finally help you get your plans approved. Her information is on the website. Get in contact with her and get your plans approved. Now, another thing you want to be aware of is you want to know where the water line is located. If the water line and the garage happen to be in the front of the property, you already know that you're going to spend less on labor and less on materials, and your overall cost is going to be way lower. For this particular property, the water line is in the front, so let me give you an example of how that could work. The water line coming from the city is right over here, and as you can see, this line is going towards the property. When you are converting your garage into an ADU, you cannot tap into the water line from the house. You have to tap in to the water line coming in from the city, and from this point you have to make a line that goes to the ADU and starts feeding water to that particular unit. That's the way that the state of California wants it, and that's the way you're going to pass the inspection. If you happen to tap into this line to supply your ADU with water, you won't pass the inspection. So what happens is you're not going to use so much materials if your water line is there and your ADU happens to be here. If you buy a property with this particular setup, which is the exact same setup as my ADU, what my plumber did is he tapped into the water line here, and instead of digging a trench all the way around the property, what he did is he just opened up a hole here. He got the copper line to go under the house, around, and coming out from the other side. So that way he used copper on the very front, which is very affordable, and we just installed the PEX under the house, and he did that in maybe 1 hour. It was super quick. He didn't need a crew of 3 people digging. It was very easy for him to do, and the line came out right here. He installed a spout, a shut-off line, and then he kept the line going into the ADU, which was an easy setup. This is the water line that was installed under the property, and then he did this setup to show the inspector. In order to pass the inspection, you need a shut-off valve for the ADU, and then this line over here goes under the house again and then into the ADU. Right over here we have the gas line, and for the purpose of an ADU, you can either have 2 meters or you can just have the gas line being sent over to the ADU. It just depends on what you want to do. If you want to Airbnb it or have a family member be in the ADU, like a mother-in-law or something, do you really need the meter? Now, if you're going to rent out the property to the public, I would say get the meter overall. You don't really want to be splitting bills, once a month trying to figure it out. But anyways, for the purpose of an ADU, when you're house hunting, look at the location of your gas meter, and then you'll be able to find out if you're going to spend a lot of money or is it going to be affordable. Right over here, what this scenario looks like, you would have the gas line here, and there would be another line probably coming in from this section with 2 shut-off valves, one for the house, one for the ADU. And what the plumber can do is he can just install the gas line under the house, run it all the way to the ADU, and bring it out somewhere over here. As you can see, this is probably a 15 feet run, so it's going to be extremely affordable for the plumber to run this line. He doesn't have to excavate. He doesn't have to have extra guys to dig a trench. He can just have one of his guys go in, knock it out in a day, and then you have the gas line on the inside of the ADU. This is the gas line setup for my ADU. We have the earthquake shut-off valve. This line over here is going towards the property. This line over here is going towards the ADU. So this is a real-life application for an attached garage where you can install the gas line under the house instead of digging a trench. And like I said before, doing it this way is going to be more cost effective. The next thing I want to talk about is electricity. You will need to provide your ADU with power, and what that means is you either have its own electric meter or you can get away with a sub panel. The most affordable way to do it is a sub panel unless you're going to rent it to the general public, in which I would say in that scenario, just get its own meter. Now, if you want to be really cost effective, just install a sub panel in your ADU. So once again, we look at the location of your current panel, and then that will tell you whether you're going to spend a lot of money or if you're going to save money on your particular project. You will need a dedicated breaker from your panel showing that it's going to the ADU. That's the affordable way. The expensive way would be just to get another meter that provides power to the ADU and you call it a day. Now let me show you why on a scenario like this, your overall budget is going to be lower rather than having to dig a trench 30 feet all the way to the back of the property. And what could happen in this particular project is they can either take a direct line with a dedicated breaker that says ADU, and they can just install it in the attic. You get the line, you run it inside the attic. The sub panel can be installed inside the ADU, which means that you can have the line coming in from your panel somewhere here. You have your sub panel right over there, and that's all you need to do. The other way, if your garage was in the back of the property, then you would have to excavate, dig up a trench, install your line inside that trench, and then obviously bring the line all the way to the location of the garage. On my ADU, the panel coming in from the city was in the corner. All I did was get the line, jump it over to the inside, and that's it. So when you're house hunting, look at the location of the electrical panel, and then you can get an idea if you're going to spend a lot of money or it's going to be affordable. It just depends on the location of the panel and obviously the location of the garage. I can talk about this all day, but not until I show you the finished product. Then you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. So let me show you my panel coming in from the city. There we go. And like I said, the panel was right here. All we had to do was take the line to the other side on the inside of the ADU, and the sub panel is about 7 feet away. So here we have the breaker, the dedicated breaker that's feeding power to the ADU is labeled ADU sub panel. Is a 100 amp breaker, and that's all I had to do in order to pass the inspection. Another thing that's very important, and you can't really control this. I mean, some people will be very lucky and some people will just have to deal with it, is sometimes people say, and I get phone calls every now and then, you know, I have drywall in my garage. I'm halfway there, right? And the answer is no. Unfortunately, if you buy a property that already has drywall, all that has to come down. Now, in order for you to pass all your rough inspections, you're gonna have to show the inspector what's behind the walls. So most likely, if you buy a property that has drywall, the previous owner spent $10,000 in drywall, and you wanna convert it into an ADU, the city inspector will tell you to bring down the drywall because you're gonna have to install rough electrical, rough plumbing, insulation, shear walls, and then drywall. So you need everything empty in order to do the work because you're converting a garage into livable space and it has to be up to code. So if you see a house, you get super excited, the garage already has drywall, you're thinking, holy cow, you know, I hit the lottery with this property. You didn't. It'll just be another expense. Now, this other thing, this is crazy because you don't really know what's under the ground. However, if you already have footings, that could save you $3,000 per side. For this particular property, it looks like it already has footings on these 3 sides. We don't know about the front of the garage. However, if you have footings on a property that you buy, consider yourself lucky because you'll be saving tons of money. I made a video specifically for footings, so if you want to know how to find out if you have footings on your property, take a look at that video. It's very helpful. But let me show you an example of something that could possibly have footings. I don't know, but it looks like it does. So let me show you. And if you can see, I'll do my best, but you have this section right over here. That's called the footing. This is your pressure treated wood. So the footing begins from this section going down. This is maybe, I don't know, 6-7 inches. So most likely this property has footings. Hopefully you have another 5 inches going down, because most of the time you only need a 12-inch footing, and there's cities that want you to have 24, but it all depends from city to city. So as you can see, there may be footings on this section and probably here as well. Let's take a look. All right, here we go. So you see here is missing maybe an inch, but most likely there is footings here as well. And right over here, the city inspector is not gonna want you to excavate. He'll just look at it, see if it's in good condition. But this is the same scenario that I had in my property. The footing looked exactly like this. And the only place that I didn't know whether it had a footing or not was the front. To solve that problem, I excavated 3 sections of the front of my ADU to show the city inspector that I did have the correct type of footing to build an ADU. Now, the most important thing about buying a house in order to convert the garage into an ADU is whether you can even convert the garage into an ADU. And there's a set of steps that you have to take. First, I would say, and this is before you close on the property, during your contingency period, actually within the contract it says for you to find out everything there is to know about the property, so it falls on the buyer's hands to do all that work. I would say call the city that you're buying the property in and ask them, I'm thinking about buying a house to convert the garage into an ADU. Is that possible in this property? And the city would say yes, the city would say no. If they say no, then it's up to you whether to buy the house or not. One of the reasons why the city may not allow you to convert the garage into an ADU is because possibly the garage was built without permits. If that happens, then the city would say no, because you need to have a legally permitted garage to convert into an ADU. So that might be one of the reasons why they don't allow you to. Nonetheless, I would still call just to make sure I can convert my garage into an ADU, because it's different when you're a homeowner. You already own the property, it's yours. And when you come in from a buyer's point of view, you have to look at all these things. And let's just say you get 2 offers accepted. Offer 1, you're gonna spend more on your ADU. Option 2, you're gonna spend less. It's up to you which way you wanna go. Hopefully you guys learned just a bit more about the ADU process. For now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to my open house. So thank you. See you guys on the next one.